Hello and welcome to Under the Lens, the new series that we are releasing. This starting up just this past Thursday, Wednesday. We look at Christian Hackenberg with Derek Clausen at QB class. Today we're looking at the edge rushers, specifically Jordan Jenkins out of Georgia. And there's no better person to talk about Jordan Jenkins with than Georgia fan, edge rusher specialist Charles. Charles, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Matt. Been a long day, but I'm ready to break down this Jordan Jenkins tape real quick. How about you? How you doing today?
I am doing pretty well, pretty well. So first off, has the hangover from the Falcons draft worn off yet, or is that still going?
It finally just wore off. Like it took me a while to come down from the elation, but it finally I'm able to process it now. But I'm really, really happy with the draft. I'm just excited for the season to start up. I think the Falcons defense is going to be much improved, and it'll be interesting to see how Kyle Shanahan takes over that offense. But I'm really excited for first year of the Dan Quinn regime.
Like you said, Kyle Shanahan, so much to be excited about that offense, what he did in Cleveland, his track record, just new heights for the Falcons, and it's going to be an exciting year. So today we are looking at Jordan Jenkins, and of course, Charles, as I said before the show, he's a Georgia fan. So first, why don't you tell us about Jordan Jenkins?
It's interesting because Jordan Jenkins was a guy his freshman year who really broke out into the scene. He was an All SEC freshman selection. He got a lot of playing time, and he was a guy where you expected his production to rise year by year, but to be honest, it really hasn't. He's kind of stayed around, that 5 to 8, sack range. When you see a guy who bursts onto the scene, but he doesn't really produce after that, when it's time for him to start going through the draft process, it's really interesting to see, okay, what traits does he have? What traits doesn't he have? What kind of stunted his growth as an edge rusher from his freshman year to his junior year? Is he athletically limited? Is it scheme oriented? So that's why I really want to break down his tape because he's an interesting case study for guys who don't really, expand upon their statistical totals early in their career. And also with Jordan Jenkins, it's funny because Georgia has two edge rushers, Leonard Floyd, who we're going to get to in our next session, next week or the week after. Floyd, you'll watch him and you see that he's a really quick twitch, athletic, good upfield burst player. But Jenkins is more of he's not quite as explosive as Floyd, so he's got to rely on his technique and effort more to get to the quarterback. It's interesting watching Georgia defense and just seeing how those two players contrast. And we'll get started with this Jordan Jenkins tape pretty soon.
Yeah, and you picked Jordan Jenkins against my Volunteers, so I get to see that offensive line get wrecked again, which is always exciting. And just real quickly, so when did Jenkins first jump out to you as a freshman? Is there something that really clicked for you that you saw this guy had NFL potential?
Well, yeah, I'm biased, but I thought that I really liked his hustle, and sometimes his initial snap anticipation and get off was pretty good. Uh, but it's weird to see him not translate that early success into big statistical numbers. So I think today this Tennessee tape is really good indicator, highlights some of his strengths and some of his weaknesses, and really things that he's going to have to improve upon mentally as he gets prepared for his first NFL season next year.
And one thing, just while we're watching these videos, some choose to watch it full speed, some half speed. So just Charles, for you, which would you like today? Half speed, full speed?
Half speed, please.
Half speed. We will get that ordered up right now, and then we will get to Jordan Jenkins versus Volunteers high school offensive line. And there we go. And let's get started.
All right, so he's at the top of the screen.
Yeah.
Yep. Not much there. Like, you're not going to get a pressure on every play, but if you could run that back one more time, just that first play. So the left tackle, he goes in on the down block on the defensive tackle, leaving the running back for Jenkins. Now, what you would like to see there is probably Jenkins to shoot his hands a little bit better, engage the running back with his hands because usually that's a mismatch having an edge rusher on a running back. But Jenkins didn't really use proper technique there because he's definitely stronger than that running back. So that just really more consistent hand use is what you would like to see out of Jenkins on that play. All right, can you run that back? Now here, you'll notice that the right guard comes on a pull right towards Jenkins. But so Jenkins, his responsibility on this play should be to shuffle down the line of scrimmage once he sees tackle taking that down step. So he's supposed to shuffle down the line of scrimmage, and once he sees the guard coming at him, instead of taking the long way and going around the guard right there, what you should do is what we call a spill technique. So spill, rip underneath the right arm of the offensive guard, and kind of flip your hips so you find yourself past the offensive guard and ready to hit the running back right at the line of scrimmage. So instead of diving for the running back, if you go back to that play. So instead of diving at the running back around the guard, as you'll see he does right there, is if he cuts underneath the guard, he could stop him right at the line of scrimmage, which is what you really want to see from your defensive ends in that situation. And there he's kind of just still feeling out the offensive tackle. It's early in the game for pass rush situations. Now this is one of my biggest beefs with one of the biggest problems I have with both Floyd and Jenkins. If you can run that back, um, you'll see that Jenkins, his hands are way to the outside of the offensive tackle. Uh, so I mean, with that technique, you're giving the offensive lineman uh, pretty much you're opening up your chest for the offensive lineman to just shove his hands into you and drive you right to the ground. Um, so this is a better angle. Watch Jenkins' left hand is all the way on the right shoulder pad of the offensive lineman. Now he's exposing his chest to just getting planted in the run game, and as we'll see as we go further through the tape, he struggles with taking on down blocks because he's really not that strong. He's still growing into his body a little bit. Um, and so just like when you're not the strongest player out there, you really want to have good technique, and that's something that Jake can struggle with on that play for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he gave an offensive lineman a hits paradise, just be able to guide him wherever he wants to go.
Yeah. That's good awareness there to see the running back coming out and pushing his hands down to his back of his chest to keep his legs clean. For the most part. He didn't get completely cut. And that's enough. That play right there. He's never going to be. I know, like he wasn't fully rushing off the edge. He's playing a little five tech, or I think that's five. I couldn't really tell. Yeah, he's playing five. So if you're going to play five, you're going to have to show that you can be a speed to power guy. And even on the stunt that he comes inside there, he doesn't have the strength to bully off into the line into the backfield, which is so you want to see him be able to get around the corner and use that speed to burn, and we'll see if he has it as this game progresses.
And so one thing you've talked a lot about is if you don't have that power, just having great technique. So when you're watching that, for people who are newer to scouting, how do you look for that? And what's the great technique?
Well, it depends on what move you're going to utilize. But a lot of it comes into a fundamental of keeping your chest clean and giving enough space for you to clear your hips and get past the offensive lineman. If you could run that play back real quick. So so Justice Mosqueda and Eric Stoner have talked about this a lot. Like, there's really only two ways to rush the passer when you boil it down to it. You're either going to be a speed to power guy, or you're going to be a bender around the edge. And that's where you see like three cone times. That like the importance of three cone times. You'll see guys like Robert Quinn, who's a really good bender, even J.J. Watt, who's freakishly able to bend around the corner. Those guys have really, really good three cone times. And then you'll see a guy who came out last year who's a speed to power guy, Bud Dupree, who has really, really good jumps. And it's interesting to see the correlation between the two. You know, Jordan Jenkins, like he doesn't really show that ability to kind of, we call it in college, we call it killing the inside leg. So when you're rushing around the corner, when you get to quarterback level, like you're parallel to the quarterback in your pass rush, you kind of want to kill the inside and bend around the corner. But Jordan Jenkins doesn't really show that ability, so he has to win more hustle plays because he's never going to be big enough to be a speed to power guy, but he doesn't really have the athleticism to be a bender around the edge. You see, if you could run that play back real quick. So watch. So he gets upfield against the left tackle, and right there, right as he gets to about the 24-yard line, what you would like to see is him kill the inside leg and really try to bend and turn around the corner around the offensive lineman, but he just doesn't really get there. And that's one issue that I have with him. If you're not going to be a speed to power guy, you're going to have to be a bend type around the corner, and he doesn't really show the ability to do either. But he does have good hustle, which is why he's going to make it to the NFL. And there again, you see he gets stuck. He gets stuck as he reaches the left hip of the offensive tackle, which is where you really want to see him be able to bend around the corner, but he's not there yet.
So if you're his coach, what are some things that you're trying to train him on to improve and help him and take that next step and get around the edge?
Well, for him, it's going to be more. He's going to have for the NFL and for this upcoming season. He's going to have to be more schemed into his sacks. Like I talked about that with Dante Fowler a lot, but it's going to be even the case more with Jenkins because you're going to have to put him in a lot of 7 techniques, wide 9 alignments, just so he can, because he's got pretty good snap anticipation. So if you can get him to time that snap right and put him in wide 9 sets, you can maybe get him up the field and have him take a straight beeline to the quarterback, so he's not forced to use that speed to power, or he doesn't have to bend around the edge. But you're going to see he gets his sacks off either hustle or just like a quick move sometimes when the play first starts, but it's not consistent really. So right there. Yeah, if you could run that play back. Now, that play, that was just kind of given to him because the penetration by the defensive tackle was so good. But he can be a good cleanup guy for your defense too. But he's not going to be either a primary or secondary elite pass rush in the NFL.
I mean, still, I mean, if you can find a role in the NFL, you mentioned the hustle. That just to have a job
Yeah.
in the NFL, I mean, situation, whatever it is, everyone needs a role.
Yep. And he can definitely. I mean, he'll definitely find his niche. And that's a play where you see kind of like the limited strength that he has, where he's getting bullied by tight ends, and you know that's never something that you want to see. Or was that an offensive tackle?
Offensive tackle.
Well, yeah, that was an offensive tackle, but still, you would like to see him better ability to hold up against those blockers.
And it was a Tennessee offensive tackle, so that's even a lesser extent of
If you could run that play back one more time. Yeah, and this play, like this isn't something that like you can knock him too much on, because even NFL often or defensive linemen still struggle recognizing screenplays. So I usually don't let that impact me that much when I'm evaluating these guys. And there's another instance where he could have used that spill technique to get underneath the guard and stop the running back for a loss. When you see the guard pull and cut underneath that, and then if he can stop, you can stop him at the line of scrimmage. That's something that Shane Wright actually did pretty well. He had really good awareness of what offensive linemen are trying to do and executing the correct technique, even with the knocks that he got athletically. There you go. That's a quick swim. So you'll see like, he can do that. Like he has a swim move that he can execute right off the bat. But if he's not hitting you with that right off the bat, he's not going to offer that much pass rush. But it's good to see him execute a quick swim move and get the quarterback down for the sack.
he at least has that in his bag of tricks. I mean, if he didn't have
Yeah.
that, then don't mind me as I have flashbacks about this game.
Dude, Gurley went off in this game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he went for over 200. Now that wasn't bad. He actually held up pretty well there against the run. You see him extend into the offensive lineman with his right arm, and then keep himself clean, to get it on the gang tackle. That was kind of nice. If you could run that play back. Now, see, this is where he kind of shows you where he's not going to be like an overpowering power rusher. He gets held up by the guard, and he doesn't really have the lower body strength or explosiveness to fight through that contact. So, that's where you kind of see where he's not going to be, your one of your top two pass rushers on your team. Even you'll see as the guard pans out on that end zone view, So if you yeah, as a guard pans out, when he first makes contact with Jenkins, he starts to lunge a little bit, which is like it's just that's not great technique for an offensive lineman. That's something that you'll see like NFL pass rushers like they will exploit that. Either with a rip move, kind of a swim move to get you off balance. So you would like to see him take more, like a better advantage of that in that situation, but it just kind of shows you where his limitations are strength wise, because he's not going to be that guy who's going to power through or just toss offensive lineman aside. There he gets stuck on a double team. Yeah, I mean, it's not much he's going to do on that one. Just got caught by the offensive tackle baiting him upfield in that draw play, and he bought the fake. Um, I mean, yeah, I get where he's coming from here because it's late in the second half and they're up. I mean, it's late in the first half and they're up, so I get why he's going full out for the pass rush, even on 1st and 10. But a little bit better discipline might stop him from getting baited like 5 or 6 yards upfield in the draw play.
He's hustling down the field, dog. Give him credit for that. I didn't know
Yeah,
bad play.
yeah, he's got the hustle. And there you see, that's where you see where he's not going to be a phenomenal bender around the corner. Because one thing that all good benders have is balance. Um, and you'll see he beats the offensive tackle in kind of around the edge, or he gets to the point like where he could kill the inside and get around the edge, and you see him do that if he could run back that play one more time. And you kind of see him do that as he approaches the 30-yard line. You'll see him try to kill the inside, but he just slips and falls. And if he doesn't have great balance, and it's going to be tough for him to be, a speed to bend rusher. It's just tough. And there, that was a good play fake by the quarterback for the draw. There you go again. He gets there.
Can't
So
finish.
yeah, his snap anticipation is good enough where at times he can beat the offensive tackle to the edge, but his balance is so bad that he's never going to be a great bender guy. That was a good pressure right there. So like as that hole opens up between the left tackle and the guard, he could cut inside there, but it looked like the quarterback had intentions of releasing that ball pretty quick. And that's when the offensive tackle makes no attempt to block you, that's a really big indicator of what's going to happen on the play. So I mean, like he makes no effort and just lets him run upfield. That's something that's I mean, when it's that obvious, like to your side of the ball, that's where I have the beef. If it's not, if you're away from the screenplay, then I don't have that big of a problem. But when it's right in your face, and the offensive tackle clearly makes no attempt to block you, that's when you got to recognize that a little better.
If it seems too easy, it probably is.
Probably, yeah, that's how it is. And this is where you see him. You know, I get the hold. Like he gets held a little bit, but you gotta be able to hold up better than that, especially against college tight ends. He's getting driven off the ball, good, almost 4 yards downfield. Like especially when you have contain on that side. Luckily, you have Floyd to chase down on the back end, but still, and there's another balance issue right there. He doesn't even keep his head up like as he engages the offensive tackle or offensive guard, but yeah, you see the balance issues even come up in the run game.
So in terms of balance, you mentioned about bending the edge, but talk about in the run game why it's so important.
I mean, well, is if you fall down, like you're pretty much if you fall down in the run game, you're pretty much screwing over your linebacker who is behind you. If you fall when you're taking on a run block, then you've just created like more chaos for the linebacker to have to navigate through, and now he has to deal with your blocker that's free now. So he's got the blocker that was assigned to him on the second level, plus the blocker that was supposed to be blocking you. So now that's a 2-on-1 block plus your body in the middle of all that. It's really easy for running backs to exploit those holes and get upfield for a big gain. Even even that play, he if you can run that back, he comes out of his stance straight up, and then I mean, that's once you get to that point where you and the offensive lineman are just leaning on each other, that's just physics. Even though he jumps in the pile at the end, he still gets driven off the ball, a good 3 yards. Now, see, this play, I watched this play so many times, and this one was bizarre to me because like he doesn't do it like the whole game. I don't even know if this is bad, and I think the offensive tackle just kind of because like his burst or snap anticipation wasn't even that great. The offensive tackle just kind of he got opened up on it. His hips got opened up pretty pretty deep into his set, and that was poor technique really on the right tackle. Because once you end up parallel with like if you're facing like pretty much the same way your quarterback is with no like your feet aren't set up for power, you're just kind of shuffling back. Any edge rusher is going to get you off the edge. Um, but that was a good play by Jenkins, to keep working and get the sack. But I put that one more on poor effort from the right tackle, poor technique from the right tackle than anything that Jenkins really did.
Goodness, that was just ugly.
Just a revolving door right there.
That's Justin Worley got hurt.
And this is like if now when you're teaching when you're teaching edge guys like how to rush the passer, um, what you want them to do, like especially if they're undersized like Jenkins is, you want to teach them to work the half man. So instead of, I don't know how much this Tennessee left tackle weighs, but I'm going to guess he's over 300 pounds. So say he's 305. Would you rather work an edge and take on half of him? So about 150 pounds. Would you rather work 150 pounds or try to take him down the middle and work all 300? I mean, that's kind of a really simplistic way of looking at it, but if you only weigh 240 or 250 like Jenkins does, working down the middle of offensive linemen usually just isn't going to be that successful. So even that's like a mental part of pass rushing. When you know you're really undersized, you want to work angles, and working down the middle it's really never going to be that successful for you. And there you see again, he works down the middle, but then he gets caught in a double team. It's going to be tough. I mean, and this doesn't just apply to Jenkins. Like you can apply this to Eli Harold from this past season. When you're not big and you're not that strong, you can't just take on offensive tackles in the pass rush. It's just never going to be that fruitful for you. You got to continuously work angles. And this is just a wacky double reverse play. But even here, you'd like to see him running down the field after the receiver, even though he gets kind of left in the dust.
Yeah, but like you said earlier, if you're not a powerful guy, I mean, taking up a 320-pound tackle right on expecting anyone with strength, not the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, it's just math. Like it doesn't make that much sense. Because you'll even see here, like he'll disengage in the running game, like on that last play. If you could run that last play back, so you'll see here, like he disengages, but it's after he's been pushed a few yards down the field. So more aggressive engagement with the offensive tackle would help, but he's gonna have to get stronger in his upper and lower body if he's gonna be more successful this year in terms of handling run straight at him.
And given his 6'3", how much more weight do you think he could put on?
He looks like he's 6'3", 6'2", 6'3". I think he could put on another 10, 15 pounds without losing that much explosiveness. But you'll see right there, like right on that play, he's getting swallowed up at the point of attack. So you would like to see him, first of all, engage with his hands a little better, pack a more powerful punch with his hands, but then also the ability to keep his balance. Like he's trying to when you clear your hips as a defensive end, you see here like he's trying to clear his hips without using his hands to get across the offensive lineman, which means the offensive lineman pretty much still has your chest. And that's also going to struggle. That's also going to mess up your balance if if all your weight is leaning forward, but you have something pulling against you, that's usually a recipe for disaster against the run. If you can run that back. Yeah, that was a play where he had, solid snap anticipation. This is a better view. So he gets off the ball quick, and see that's where you see him work a quick move right upon engagement, and that allows him to get around. So we've seen now two plays where he if he works that quick swim and quick rip at the line of scrimmage, then he can get around. But he's not a guy that's going to beat you with athleticism off the edge. There you go again. Quick rip off the line. So that's two good rushes in a row. Of him using quick moves right off the line of scrimmage, good snap anticipation, and he gets through.
Never lets his hands get inside, so just allowed to use that move.
Yeah, that was also a pretty poor play by the left tackle right there.
Well, I'm used to that, so.
There you go, trying to take on the entire offensive lineman. It's just when you only weigh 240, 250, it's just gonna be tough. There's another instance where that's the third time where he's gotten caught by that guard pulling across. So that, for me, that shows that he's still learning in terms of, you know, uh, in terms of what the offensive line is trying to do to him with their blocks. Getting caught with the same screen with the same reach block, not reach block, with the same pull block in the same game, like that's a little alarming. You would like to see a guy who's who's gotten a few varsity letters to recognize that better than he does.
Now, do you think that's something he could recognize on film that they like to do, or just in-game awareness of realizing that this is coming?
They're definitely putting down film in their film sessions. They have to. But I think for him it's more in-game awareness. Because you'll see, his in-game awareness, like it's not that great because you'll see him keep getting killed on these pull blocks. It's pass rush awareness, still not trying to work edges when he has to. Getting killed on boundary screen plays right into his zone. Yeah, these are still things that he's got to pick up on if he's going to take that next step for his senior season. And there's where he's kind of like schemed into his pressure. You see, he's lined up real wide away from the offensive lineman, so he pretty much has a straight beeline to the quarterback. And there he actually does show a little bit of bend getting around the corner, but it's more to him being able to run a straight line to the quarterback. But that was a good pressure, good scheme call up by Pruitt, Jeremy Pruitt, defensive coordinator. screenplay to the boundary. You know, he's always running after the ball, which is what you like to see. He's got high effort. And there he just got stuck on the guard. And that was straight that was a straight jailbreak by the offensive line. If you could run that playback really quick. One more time, I kind of lost him. There we go. Yeah, see, this is where, again, you know, he's not going to be that productive. He's never going to be a speed to power guy. Like, that's just not what his frame's built for. So, I mean, you would like to see him probably try to figure that out by now in his career. That he's gonna have to work angles to get his pressure, because when he's just trying to bull rush guys, it's never that successful, and that's just due to, you know, the combination of his strength and weight. And here we go again, you know, getting caught by the pull. Even though it's a tight end, the same technique applies. You know, and the reason that you can use the spill technique, you know, I wrote if you could pause it real quick, like right as the so you see right there, if you pause it right there. So I wrote an article about Dupree, and you know, he kind of struggled with the same thing, where he wasn't recognizing, like, you know, down blocks, pull blocks from the offensive lineman. And I got a question here, like, why would you duck underneath the offensive lineman or the tight end when they're pulling at you? And notice Herrera and Wilson, the two middle linebackers for Georgia. The reason that you can spill underneath the offensive lineman that's coming towards you is because when Herrera or Wilson, they're keyed in on the guards or any pull, or really a lot of pull action. So when they see that the guards are pulling, they're filling up the hole that you leave by trying to duck inside the offensive lineman. So if you're taking the outside technique on the guard and they're filling in behind you, then, you know, you really have two guys playing one gap, and that leaves a huge space in the middle of the field for the running back to hit the hole and get to the second level, which is why you want to attack underneath the guard. Linebacker fills in where you were, and, you know, it's just the easier way to stop those runs. But now, when you're not, you'll see 52 Herrera. He's got a guy on him right there, and Jordan's just tanking the outside. So luckily Wilson's unblocked right there, but it leaves a huge hole. It leaves a hole right from like the tackle in the middle right up to the secondary, which is why you would rather see him take that underneath, let Herrera fill in over top, and have everyone play gap sound defense. Now you can start it up.
And we will have a link to that article once it's published, so people can check it out. Be sure to check it out and check out all of Charles' work, because he kills it.
Yeah, but luckily they, you know, fumbled the ball. That's sloppy right there. Have you watched any Josh Dobbs by chance?
I have.
Obviously, because you're a Tennessee fan. What do you think about him?
I mean, freshman year, I was, I didn't think I didn't think he was going to be an NFL player. I just, but sophomore year, the jump he made, and they were actually going to redshirt him, but so he came off the bench for Bam and just, I mean, I was real impressed by him. His instincts, just his ability to move in the pot, extremely smart, genius. He's yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that me and Derek were watching this game yesterday, and he's a really smart quarterback. I don't know how great his arm is, but he's accurate with the football, or he's still learning, in that portion of the game. But he's really smart. Like, he gets coverages, his anticipation and timing is really good. I'm excited for his future.
You know what his major is, right?
What was aerospace or something like that?
Yeah, aerospace engineering, and right now he's interning at NASA.
Holy crap!
Although that face, though, and the eyebrow.
Hey, it won't matter once he hits that NFL paycheck. Girls are going to be all over him.
Yeah. Yeah, and they got Derek Barnett, and it's going to be exciting. So looking overall at Jenkins, I mean, a lot of the same points came up that you brought up. I mean, balance was an issue. He tried to take on 320-pound offensive linemen using power, which is not his game. I mean, so who is Jenkins, and looking forward to the NFL? If he stays at this weight, if he remains the same player, what's his role? And if you're a coach, what are you using him as?
He's probably, he doesn't have like great linebacker skills where you're going to want him in base, and he doesn't have like the best size or athleticism for primary defensive end. So he's going to be a guy that's a rotational pass rusher, and that's fine. Like, there are a lot of teams that would love to have rotational pass rushers that are going to give 100% effort on every play. If you put them next to some space heaters inside, and you can teach them to be more comfortable with taking on the outside edge instead of playing straight down through the middle, then you're going to have a guy who can come off the bench and give a decent pass rush in his reps while playing some good special teams. There are plenty of guys in the NFL that have carved out that career for a good while and been successful. And that's not an indictment on Jordan really at all. It just is who he is. And I wanted to watch him because I want to watch him with you because I see a lot of people. It's still very early in the draft process, but there are a lot of people who are placing him in that first and second round range, and that's not. He's not quite that player. He's just not that caliber player, and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's not.
That's just not who he is. But right now, Jordan Jenkins probably a day 3 guy who you're going to draft a boosted pass rush off the bench and play special teams for you. But that's who Jordan Jenkins is in 2015.
Absolutely. I mean, there's such a focus on these star edge rushers, and everyone's focused on the star athlete making hundreds of millions or in the 50 million guaranteed. But there are plenty of opportunities and important roles for a player like Jenkins. If he's a 5th or 6th round pick, he can carve out an 8-year career playing special teams, being a situational pass rusher. He'll make money. He'll have a great living. And that's his NFL career, and that's perfect for him.
Yep. But I would like to see him get stronger for his senior season.
Yeah.
I don't know how much. I don't know if his body's maxed out really, but it looked like he had some space to throw on.
He can put on weight.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see how much weight he gains if he gets stronger. But other than that, there's not. As a pass rusher, the one thing you really like about him a lot is his effort to get to the ball. These are a lot of the things that we were saying with Shane Ray this past draft season. Who knows? It only takes one team to draft you in the first round or second round, so it wouldn't surprise me if Jordan ends up being that high caliber pick because we've seen we've seen guys in this past drafts with lesser caliber players than him go in the first 3 rounds. So if Jordan ends up there, I wouldn't be that surprised. But I'm not sure if his career production would match a pick in the first 2 days, probably.
Yeah, when you mentioned the first and second round, I mean that did seem very early for the player we saw.
Yeah.
All right, so before we wrap this thing up, first of all, Charles, where can everyone follow you on Twitter? Because I know you're in the pursuit of 10,000 followers.
I'm
We need to get
follow
you
me
there.
on Twitter at McDraft2, MCDraft2. That's where I am. I'll be at Football Savages and Draft Breakdown for the summer. Might have some plans for the fall. I'm not sure yet, though.
And is there any chance there's a place where we could follow your barber on Twitter?
My barber on Twitter, he's actually real secretive about that stuff. He's got his account locked down. He won't even let me follow it. But if you're ever in the Baltimore area and you need a good haircut, look up Picasso Cuts. They do a great job over there.
All right. And lastly, do you have a prediction for the Georgia Bulldogs this season?
Oh, well, here's what's going to happen. Just like every year, we're gonna lose to South Carolina at the beginning of the year. Then we're gonna go high on 8-9 game winning streak, and then crumble at the end of the season. Have everyone questioning why the hell does Mark Drake still have the head coaching job at Georgia? I'm all in the Pruitt 2016 bandwagon. Just give him the reins. He's a great coach. But I'm sick of Rick kind of because every year I feel like we have the potential to make that national championship or at least SEC championship run, but then it just kind of all falters down the stretch. And after years of that happening, you got to place some blame on the head coach.
I do kind of know how you feel because, well, I'm not allowed to say it to Green Bay fans. I feel kind of similarly about Mike McCarthy, but I'll leave that hot take for another day. Thanks again for coming on. Really enjoyed it. And to wrap it up, what's the next prospect we're going to watch on Under the Lens? Edge rusher.
We're going to watch the other Georgia edge rusher, Leonard Floyd, who is he's different. Like I stated before that we started breaking down that tape. He's a little longer, more athletic, but he might weigh like 195 pounds. So it's going to be interesting to see him grow throughout the season.
195. Wow.
I mean, that's a little bit of an exaggeration, but he's not. There's no way he weighs like more than 220 at the most.
Got to put that weight on. Hey, thanks again, man. Really enjoyed having you on. Looking forward to the next one.
Thanks for having me.